Hi, you're watching Current Issues. My name is Vineet Malhotra. The Supreme Court came down hard on Zee News editors Sudhir Chaudhary and Sameer Ahluwalia for failing to submit their voice samples in the 2012 extortion case against them. The duo had sought bail on the precondition that they will submit their voice samples but have failed to do so. The Apex Court wants the duo to submit their voice samples in 2 weeks or face jail. A paradox of a peculiar nature where the fourth estate is guarded and perpetuated by individuals who compromise the sanctity of this noble profession by transgressing the given law of the land. We will delve into this debate very shortly, but before that, let's look at this report.
Accused in the ₹100 crore extortion case, Zee News editors Sudhir Chaudhary and Sameer Ahluwalia suffered a major setback on Friday, with the Supreme Court directing them to give voice samples to the investigative agencies. Supreme Court has also directed the agencies to complete the procedure within 2 weeks time frame.
जो अब रिकॉर्ड किया जा रहा है वो उस वक्त की आवाज से मिल रहा है, तो दोनों एक्यूज्ड के विरुद्ध ये सबसे सटीक और स्पष्ट प्रमाण माना जाता है। इसलिए वॉइस सैंपल का आदेश बहुत जरूरी था, क्योंकि वॉइस सैंपल के आधार के ऊपर अंतिम निर्णय लिया जा सकता है कि एक्यूज्ड इस केस के अंदर इन्वॉल्व थे या नहीं थे।
The Apex Court rejected the editor's request to provide them with the copy of the text in advance. The court said that only the investigating officer and CFSL director will decide the words accused will read for voice sample. CFSL director has been directed to submit the text to be read by the accused to the court in a sealed envelope.
ज़्यादा बढ़ सकती है। ये तो कानून के साथ एक खिलवाड़ है कि पहले आप कंसेंट दे दें, फिर कंसेंट से मुकर जाएं, वॉइस सैंपल के लिए आप हर प्रकार की बाधा उत्पन्न करें। आखिर स्पष्ट रूप से ये निष्कर्ष आना चाहिए कि 100 करोड़ के ये जो घपला था, इसके अंदर ये इन्वॉल्व थे या नहीं थे। और मामला सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक आना अपने आप में एक निराशा का आधार बनता है, और इसलिए चीफ जस्टिस की बेंच ने जो आदेश दिया वो मेरी सहमति से तो बहुत जरूरी था।
Earlier this week, the Supreme Court had lashed out at the Zee editors for their plea to withdraw their consent to cooperate with the investigating agencies. Accused Sudhir Chaudhary and Sameer Ahluwalia had signed this consent at the time of taking bail in the case. However, the Apex Court asked Chaudhary and Ahluwalia either to follow the consent or face jail. Zee News editors Chaudhary and Ahluwalia were arrested in 2012 after a complaint by a private firm. Both the editors were caught on tape demanding ₹100 crore in lieu of not airing negative news against the firm. Chaudhary and Ahluwalia were later released on bail. Zee and SL Group patron Subhash Chandra is also an accused in this case. Delhi police filed an FIR against Subhash Chandra as main conspirator in the case, and he was also interrogated by the investigators for several hours then. Team News World India.
Okay, so it's been 4 years since that extortion bid was actually manifested by these two individuals, and the Supreme Court has, taken a step in the right direction. And let's get into this debate with our esteemed guests in the studio. Let me start by welcoming Mr. Vinod Sharma, who's a senior journalist. Sir, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the show. Sukumar, who's an advocate in the Supreme Court, thank you so much for joining us. And Aku Srivastava, who's the executive editor of Navodaya Times. Thank you, sir, for joining us and sparing your time and being a part of this particular show. Mr. Vinod Sharma, we'll start with you. It's been 4 years since this extortion bid, happened. What do you think these individuals have been doing in the last 4 years? They did promise, and they got bail on that particular promise, that they will be submitting their voice samples. It has taken them 4 years. Do you think the court is going to actually use this particular fact, this facet, to indict the proceedings, swiftly and smoothly? Because 4 years is a long time to actually not give your voice samples.
4 years is a long time, and I think that the investigating agency is as much accountable. That for 4 years they had been sitting on their hands and allowing these people to manipulate the law. And I think at some stage an instruction would have to go out from the court to the investigators as well. What have the investigators done to obtain the voice samples from these two gentlemen?
Right.
I call them deliberately gentlemen because a charge sheet is yet to be filed and the charges are yet to be framed by a court of law. But that might happen in the due course. What has the investigating agency done to secure their voice samples. The other day they went to the court and they look at the temerity that they sought withdrawal of consent. Exactly. Now, I do not know who was the legal advisor. That you are given your bail is predicated on certain commitments that you have made to the court of law, and you want to resile from those commitments and yet remain on bail. So I think the Supreme Court took the right decision and ticked them off, saying that you have two options: either you abide by your consent or you go to jail. Now today they have elaborated their order and they said that within a time frame you give your voice samples. Voice samples are crucial because this is all a recorded thing. It was a sting operation, if my memory serves me right. And the irony is that these people are kind of, one of them at least is a serial offender. You know, if you remember that there was a television channel which he was heading before he happened to work for the channel he's currently heading. Right. That there was a lady teacher
he falsely against
whom a case was cooked up and a story was cooked up that she was running a prostitution racket and goading the children that she taught into that racket. It was found to be, and the crowd assembled there and she almost got lynched. Her clothes were torn, her reputation was destroyed, and thereafter it was found that the whole of the story was stage managed, was cooked, and even the crowds that were assembled there were organized by the television channel he was heading, and the channel was ordered to go off air. So I mean, here is a person who has a track record which is not, he hasn't really covered himself with glory as a journalist.
Right.
So I wonder that what kind of a justice delivery system we have in this country that people who are accused and who don't have a good past can also manipulate the process of law.
Well, absolutely. And Sukumar, coming to you from a legal perspective, like Mr. Sharma just said, that here is an individual who's tainted, who's got a history of offences, and some of those offences have been proven against him. But the real point over here is that the temerity that was shown in the court by asking them to cancel this particular order, and then in fact requesting the court that the samples that would be read out should be given to them, the transcript should be given to them in advance. How blatant is that?
Yeah, Sarmaji has rightly said. Here I think investigating agency deserves more accusation than the actual accused. What I am saying as a normal practitioner in the court, in criminal cases, usual dates are given not more than 1.5 months. Since 2012, he is out on bail, and one of the prominent condition is for securing bail,
to submit a voice sample.
Is to submit a voice sample. And since then, 4 years have been passed. On every date, investigating agency has to submit the report to the court that what further improvement he has done in the investigation. I'm just shocked that investigating agency, what kind of things, improvements or developments in this matter used to provide to the court, and surprisingly, court didn't ask anything else. Court has suo motu power in these kind of cases that, okay, I have given the bail, and since the person is not abiding the terms and conditions of the bail, the court should have cancelled the bail. Number one. Number two, had court, suppose court didn't do it, court has so many things, but the IO investigating agencies should have sought for it. Now the height and the crux of this is, they have come with the petition, right? Sarmaji said who advised him to come out with this kind of prayer that I am now withdrawing my consent, on which I am enjoying the freedom since last 4 years. So it is shocking, and whatsoever Supreme Court has done. I mean,
so a literal case of the devil's advocate.
Yes.
Okay, let's listen into senior advocate Manoj Taneja and find out what he thinks about this particular matter.
देखिए, जिसने अगर नहीं किया तो वो तो बिल्कुल नहीं डरेगा कि भाई मेरा वॉइस नहीं है, क्योंकि ये अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक मामला गया है। इसमें मुझे शक हो रहा है कि अब पिटिशनर जो मिस्टर चौधरी थे, ये इस चीज़ से पीछे हटना चाह रहे हैं। उनको लग रहा है कहीं ना कहीं कि मेरी वॉइस शायद मैच कर जाए। हालांकि एक्सपर्ट का एविडेंस है, और इसलिए उन्होंने डायरेक्टर एफएसएल और आईओ को कहा है कि वो आपसे क्या प्रश्न पूछे जाएं।
Akku Shrivastava, coming to you, Sudhir Chaudhary is a gentleman who represents the fourth estate of this country. It's one of the, pillars of democracy, and the way he's flouted the law, misrepresented this profession and got himself embroiled in such criminality. What's your perspective on this particular conspiracy and this agenda, and why has it taken so long for these culprits to be brought to book?
You see, there are some basic problem with, as Mr. Sharma has said, with our court of law, with our judiciary system. They have already taken 4 long years just to procure Chaudhary's voice and Ahluwalia voice. Why this is happening? This is the $1 million question. How he can escape from his voice? And the way he is saying we would like to have content of the voice sample, this is also very, God knows what they want to give the message. So
Would it take so long, if it was a fingerprint mapping case?
It is.
It wouldn't have taken so long.
It has as long 4 years. It should have completed in maximum 6 months. And another thing is, they can't ask for content of the voice sample. So they seems to be on the wrong path of the total episode, and it is very clear. So now the question is up to the only Supreme Court. In next hearing, they'll have to say what has been done and what is the test of your voice. So things will be clear.
Okay, Mr. Vinod Sharma, this particular establishment whom these 2 individuals represent, they also seem to be, in favor with the current government. Do you think that is probably another delay tactic that could work in their favor?
Before I answer your question, I would like to make a comparison. Comparison is always odious, but I deliberately want to make an odious comparison here. In recent years, we have been seeking the voice samples of Zakir Rahman Lakhvi also. A terrorist who was the mastermind behind Mumbai attack, and we have not been able to get those voice samples. Is this, and these people are sitting in India. I mean, is this as complex an issue, may I ask? And I think that these investigators, should be ashamed of the fact that they have not been able to obtain that it has taken the Supreme Court to intervene. It's an open and shut thing. That they seek, you have made a commitment to the court, you give your voice samples. If you don't give your voice samples, you go back in jail. What the Supreme Court exactly said. So why such a small thing, such a basic, such a basic
formality rather,
of investigation was allowed to go up to the Supreme Court for a kind of interpretation or direction, It's laughable. And insofar as the reputation of the journalist is concerned, you see, I tell you one thing. Reputation is what? When you fall in your own esteem, that is the loss of reputation. And in our kind of profession, we know where we have gone wrong and fallen in our own esteem, leave alone falling in popular esteem, I think that the fundamental is, the touchstone is that if you feel that you have fallen in your own esteem, you must quit the profession unless you come clean on the charges that are leveled against you. Unfortunately, in this case, these 2 gentlemen are the faces of a prominent television channel.
Right.
And I'm amazed. I think that the owner of that channel has put in a lot of sweat and blood into building that channel, and it used to be a channel with some reputation until some time back, But what is happening to the reputation today, I'm sorry, I as a journalist feel sad, because I for one have stopped watching them,
Right.
And it is a bad decision or a painful decision for a journalist to decide that I'm not going to watch this, because they are going to give me some puffed up, some simulated stuff, which is not going to be the truth or even their relative truth, So it's an irony. And I was coming to your studio, one of the gentlemen, I saw a hoarding along the way, learn journalism, and there's the mugshot of the gentleman, I'm sorry, you can't be that brazen. You just can't be that brazen. People are too smart. People are too intelligent. Their native wisdom, don't try to insult their native wisdom. they will put you in their place. And in our kind of profession, once you lose your reputation, you almost lose your virginity. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, Akub, you were saying something.
I want to say one thing. This is very pious profession. This is very seems to be very honest, but now the things have changed. The way post is in our profession, people are accepting CEO post, people are accepting from editor to CEO. So, what does it mean? It's the process of the all fraternity is becoming under threat, I suppose. As Mr. Sharma has rightly said, journalist or editor can't be like this, ki just go and ask for advertisement, ask for if he has gone for advertisement, then it is also very bad thing.
Okay, there are a lot of facets to this particular investigation, but another thing, Mr. Sharma, that astounds me is that, Sudhir Chaudhary also is one of the benefactors of a very secure life. He gets ex-security. And since the BJP has come into power, he's become only more important. He's a VVIP now.
A couple of months back, he was also honored with an award, which is very prestigious, and it is named after a media tycoon who's who's held in great regard, for his fights against dictatorships and autocracies, Mr. Ramnath Goenka. An award instituted in his name, he got that award, I don't know for what. You see, the tragedy is that, journalists these days, a section of them, they are honorable exceptions to the rule, I must say, are too willing to be embedded with the powers that be, and that proximity fetches them a lot of clout and access to the corridors of power. There was a time, when we'd be very proud of the fact we call ourselves as barefoot education workers, that our task is to educate the people, empower them through education, and information is surely information is power, and dissemination of honest dissemination of information empowers public opinion.
Right.
Now, cases like this and also the Radia tapes, they bring to the fore certain prominent questions relating to the freedom of press, which is not enshrined in the Constitution. It's a derived freedom from freedom of speech. You can ask my lawyer friend who's sitting here. And when you get that freedom on the premise that you will disseminate honest information to empower public opinion, which will in turn make democracy robust, then what has happened is you're cutting at the very roots of that concept. And sometime, somewhere, some people will get together, some good Samaritans, some activists will get together and move the Supreme Court of India, raising these fundamental questions that journalism as commerce, journalism as malpractice, journalism as something more inclined towards profit making than towards social responsibility. How far is it acceptable in a country like ours? Most newspaper media houses today are adjuncts of corporate interests. It's a fact, Now, fine, we can live with that if we strike the right balance between what our responsibility towards our readers, our people, our audience, and the need to be viable. That means make some profit to be viable.
You see, the word is viability is something very different. Viability, once a person is doing his job, job means journalism, and he goes for money matters, then
that responsibility lies with the proprietor.
Exactly, exactly. It has to be done by only. It has to be decided by only.
See, there is this question of paid news.
Exactly.
There is this question of paid news. There is this question of journalists being made to go and secure advertisement. Well, I think at the end of the day, even if these aberrations are allowed to sustain, assuming, I'm not looking for, I don't have a utopian dream, sir, to be honest to you. Having been an insider for so long, I don't have a utopian dream.
Right.
But at the same time, I think that a balance can be struck.
A balance,
balance can be struck. I remember some years back, I had done a paper for International Conference of Journalists, and I had deliberately titled it as Journalism as Commerce, you know. And that inspiration of the headline was Mr. Arun Shoury's article, Indira Gandhi as Commerce, on Indira Gandhi Pratibha Pratishthan. You know, when Arun Shoury was the foremost investigative journalist we had. And I talked to Arun Shoury and I said, journalism of commerce, how do you react to it? And he just laughed it off. You know, the point is that the value system has gotten so completely decimated that you are bound to have these kind of people flourishing, and you are bound to have people questioning your integrity. Already we are called prostitutes, you know. I hate the word.
Yeah.
But we are called prostitutes. And people are increasingly losing faith in our honesty vis-a-vis them.
So,
you know, in the United States, Walter Cronkite became a cult figure. And there was an ism called Cronkitism, because he was so honest that his viewers felt that he would never tell us a lie. You name one journalist or one television face in this country who can inspire that kind of faith amongst the people, that this guy is not going to tell us a lie. You know, so we are making the people cynical, I think, by our own misdeeds.
So in a sense, what Mr. Sharma is saying, Sukumar, that this case is more than a criminal case. It's probably symbolic to a lot of principles, you know, that a democratic society holds. And, you know, it's the court's responsibility to see that swiftly and judiciously, you know, things are sorted out and the culprits are punished.
You are very right. I am again taking you back to trial process. These kind of things which has been ordered by the Supreme Court is a secondary piece of evidence. In section 16(5)(a) of our Indian Evidence Act, there is provision of electronic evidence admissible in the court of law.
Right.
What police has recovered after the registration of FIR, like telephone, etc., your all electronic things, in which if there is voice sample, in which there is text, etc., it can be reproduced in some textual form, and it is acceptable in the court of law. My question is, though I don't know the actual thing what is happening in the trial court, suppose when police has sent, investigating agency has sent that sample which is available with the investigating agency to the FSL people or whosoever tests this voice, the report has already come.
Right.
When the report has already come, it is a primary source of evidence because it is admissible under Act. And rest whatsoever, all immediately I will bifurcate. All bodily things like your hair, like your narco test, like your blood test, etc., it is done by the order of the court. It is in the investigating manual.
Right.
Whatsoever is being recovered, it is being recovered by the police and it is admissible in the court of law. So, when all these things, reports have come to the court should have proceeded with the trial. That FSL people or people should have come and they have deposed before the court that I have tested and it has messed already, and court should have come out with the verdict. Why court waited just because he didn't provide his original, another sample to match with the previous sample, because law doesn't bar the criminal court to proceed with the primary source of, if the primary source of evidence is available, court can proceed. But why court is stopped?
From a legal perspective, Sukumar, do you think that the courts can compensate, you know, for the time that has been wasted in seeking these samples? Do you think there can be some swift, you know, decision made on this so that it can compensate the loss of time that the aggrieved parties had rendered?
We can only expect, because now the Supreme Court is monitoring. Supreme Court has ordered something very harsh to provide. So of course court may take it swiftly if sample is given. If not, if he doesn't give, then he will go to jail. Now there is only two options before him. So if he gives, then sample will come within a...
it's so amazing that, you know, that both the journalists are, I'm sure at least one is on-camera journalist.
Right.
And he compares shows day in and day out.
Right.
His sample, voice sample is available.
Already.
It's available. It's in public domain. Amazing, you know.
Right,
look at this.
It's on
You are right, sir.
Probably nobody's thought about it.
Only because of legal technicality. You are very much right.
Only because
what's the legal technicality?
So this only shows, you know, we always say that law is an ass, you know. It only proves that, you know. Law indeed is an ass, but because, as you rightly say, our entire judicial process is based on the Evidence Act.
Right.
It's evidence system.
Evidence.
So evidence has to be obtained exclusively for consideration of the court.
In a
And this is
proper
the
manner.
responsibility of the investigators.
Right.
And if they are not producing it before the court, so whichever court was, lower court was there, the judge, honorable judge, should have asked them to, hasten up,
Absolutely.
to do something quickly. But they are merely, wasting time.
I'm just giving one
prevaricating.
another example.
It's a classic case of justice delayed and justice denied. Well, I apologize, Sukumar, because this is all the time that we have left today. Vinod Sharma, Sukumar and Akku, thank you so much for being with us in the studios and revealing some very, very prominent points. We will see you tomorrow on Current Issues. Keep watching News World India. Thank you.